Millionaire library.
Look at your hands for a moment and ask yourself honestly, who is really holding the strings of your life? Because the truth is brutal, and it might offend you. Most of you are not the pilots of your own existence, but merely passengers in a vehicle driven by the expectations of others, social pressures, and the silent tactics of those who understand how your brain works better than you do. You think you are free because you choose your coffee in the morning or your series at night, but on the big decisions of your career, your money, and your relationships, you are often playing a part in a script written by an invisible puppeteer. Welcome to this deep study of the book Manipulation, a work that does not just describe a phenomenon, but gives you the keys to break your chains. We will explore this journey in 5 essential chapters to transform your perception of the world. Today, we lay the first stone of your new mental architecture. Chapter 1. The Architects of Your Will. Manipulation is not what you think it is. It is not just a movie villain plotting in the shadows. It is an atmospheric force, constant and almost elegant, that warps your perception of reality without you ever feeling forced. In my journey to success, I learned that the biggest difference between those who build empires and those who serve them lies in the clarity of their intention. Manipulation in its purest essence is the art of diverting someone else's intention to one's own benefit. It is turning your "I want" into an "they want." Why is this so dangerous? Because it does not just steal your time or your money, it steals your identity. Imagine a talented young entrepreneur. Let us call him Mark. Mark has a mentor, a man who seems sincerely interested in his success. This mentor constantly suggests that he should not partner with certain people, to stay small, to learn the ropes for a few more years, and to let him handle the key contacts. Mark feels supported and protected. But the reality is darker. This mentor is not teaching, he is enclosing. He is manipulating Mark's fear of failure to ensure Mark never becomes a competitor and remains a cheap resource. Manipulation here does not look like an attack, it looks like a kind word. That is where its most deadly poison hides. Ask yourself this question. What was the last important decision you made that left you with a bitter taste of regret, even though at the time it seemed perfectly logical? That is often where the manipulator's hook is hidden. The world of business and success is paved with these micro-stories, where psychology is used as a lever. A boss who flatters you for your exceptional dedication just before asking you to work an entire weekend without compensation is not a leader, he is an illusionist. He exchanges a real resource, your time and vital energy, for a fictional and free resource, a passing verbal validation. You must understand that your mind is a high-value real estate property. If you do not secure it, others will build structures on it that do not belong to you. Manipulation is bad because it breaks the social contract of trust, but above all, because it creates a power asymmetry where you end up paying the price for someone else's dreams. To succeed and reach that level of financial and personal freedom we discuss in this library, you must develop a thermal radar for intentions. Learn to look behind the words. When someone offers you an opportunity, don't just ask what you gain. Ask yourself what they would lose if you said no. If the answer is too much, then persuasion has likely slipped into manipulation. The line is thin, but it is sacred. Persuasion respects your free will. Manipulation bypasses it through the basements of your emotions. Whether in a contract negotiation or a relationship dynamic, the mechanism remains the same. Someone uses your needs for security, belonging, or recognition against you. Look around you. Observe those colleagues who use guilt to get favors, or those business partners who use silence to put you under pressure. These are simple techniques, almost crude, but they work on 95% of the population because people prefer the comfort of being led to the pain of being lucid. You are not those people. You are here to become the architect, not the building material. How much of your current lifestyle is a reaction to someone else's pressure? If you stripped away the need to impress your parents, your friends, or your followers, what would be left of your goals? True wealth starts with the ownership of your own desires. Most people are chasing a version of success that was sold to them by a marketing department or a controlling relative. They spend 40 years climbing a ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. Manipulation is the tool used to keep the wheels of the status quo turning. It is the subtle nudge that tells you to play it safe when you should be taking risks, or to spend money you don't have to maintain an image you don't need. When you start to see these patterns, you stop being a victim and you start being a strategist. You begin to realize that every interaction is an exchange of influence. The question is never whether influence is happening, but whether that influence is transparent and mutual. This first chapter is your wake-up call. It is the moment you realize that the cage door was never locked. They just convinced you the outside world was too dangerous for you. Now, take a deep breath. Clarity is your new currency. We are going to learn together to identify every thread, every hook, and every shadow so that no one can ever claim ownership of your will again. You are entering a new phase of your development where your yes means yes and your no is a fortress. We are moving away from the foggy world of being handled and into the sharp sunlight of self-governance. The journey to your sovereignty has just begun, and what we will discover in the next chapter will radically change the way you conduct your business and your relationships. You are no longer just a spectator of your life. You are becoming its master. Subscribe the Millionaire Library, and if you want to go deeper, I left a full playlist waiting for you in the description. Chapter 2. The Anatomy of the Invisible Hook. Most people walk through life believing they are making logical choices based on their own best interests, but if you want to join the top 1%, you must realize that the human brain has backdoors that are left wide open for anyone who knows how to pick the lock. In this chapter, we are going to look at the specific psychological triggers that manipulators use to pull you into their orbit without you ever feeling a tug. I want you to think back to a time when you felt an overwhelming urge to say yes to something, even though your gut was screaming no. That pressure you felt wasn't accidental, it was a calculated use of emotional leverage. The first, and perhaps most dangerous tool in the manipulator's kit, is the law of artificial debt, often known as toxic reciprocity. In the world of high-level business, I have seen men offer favors that seem like gifts, but they are actually golden handcuffs. Imagine a potential partner who insists on picking up every check, introducing you to his high-net-worth network, and giving you insider information before you've even signed a contract. It feels like mentorship. It feels like a brotherhood. But the moment you try to negotiate a term that favors you, he brings up everything he has done for you. He isn't selling a service, he is selling a feeling of obligation. He has traded a few $1,000s in dinners for $1 million leverage over your future decisions. Have you ever felt that heavy, suffocating weight of owing someone a favor you never asked for? That is the hook sinking in. Real wealth and real power come from being able to operate without these invisible debts. A millionaire mentor doesn't want you to owe them, they want you to be a competent peer. A manipulator, however, wants you to be a debtor. This brings us to the second lever, the strategic use of scarcity and the fear of exclusion. We see this in the limited-time offers of the marketing world, but in personal manipulation, it is much more subtle. It's the business partner who hints that there are 3 other investors waiting in the hallway, or the romantic partner who subtly suggests that they are being pursued by others to keep you in a state of constant anxiety. They are manufacturing a sense of urgency to bypass your critical thinking. When you are afraid of losing something, your brain switches from the prefrontal cortex, which is your center for logic, to the amygdala, your center for survival. In that state, you don't make investments, you make mistakes. I want you to pause for a second and ask yourself, how many of your recent urgent decisions were actually emergencies and how many were simply reactions to a deadline someone else created for you? If you find that most of your stress comes from other people's timelines, you are being managed, not leading. The third hook is the mirage of authority. We are biologically wired to follow the leader, a trait that served us well when we were avoiding predators on the savannah, but serves us poorly in a boardroom. A sophisticated manipulator uses the trappings of success, the right watch, the right jargon, the right tone of absolute certainty to shut down your questioning. They speak with such conviction that you begin to doubt your own eyes. This is where gaslighting begins in professional settings. You might see a flaw in a project's logic, but when you bring it up, the manipulator looks at you with a calm, condescending pity and says, "I thought you had a better grasp of the big picture than that." They don't answer your concern, they attack your competence. It is a brilliant, albeit cruel way to make you retreat into silence. I've seen brilliant young minds silenced by this simple trick. They stop trusting their own intellect and start trusting the manipulator's vision simply because the manipulator seems so sure of it. Remember this, certainty is often a performance, not a fact. The most dangerous people in the world are not those who are wrong, but those who are wrong with 100% confidence. As you move through your career, you will encounter the silent treatment, which is the hook of emotional withdrawal. It is a power play designed to make you scramble to fix a problem you didn't create. When someone suddenly becomes cold or distant without explanation, they are forcing you to audition for their approval. They are training you to monitor their moods and adjust your behavior to keep them happy. This is the death of your autonomy. A true leader or a healthy partner communicates. A manipulator oscillates between warmth and ice to keep you off balance. Why? Because an off-balance person is easy to push in any direction. Think about your current circle. Is there someone whose mood dictates the energy of the entire room? Is there someone you find yourself pre-checking your words for just to avoid a potential conflict? If the answer is yes, you are already on the hook. But here is the wahoo moment, the realization that changes the game entirely. The hook only works if there is a part of you that believes you need what the manipulator is offering. They hook your greed, your insecurity, or your need for validation. If you become a person who validates themselves, if you become a person who is willing to walk away from any deal that doesn't feel right, you become unhookable. The greatest power you possess is not the ability to out-manipulate the manipulator, but the ability to be completely indifferent to their games. When you realize that their authority is a costume and their urgency is a lie, the hooks simply fall out. You aren't just becoming smarter, you are becoming untouchable. You are no longer a fish looking for bait, you are the ocean itself, vast, deep, and unmoved by the ripples on the surface. In the next chapter, we will discuss how to build the fortress around your mind so that these hooks can never find purchase again. Chapter 3. The Sovereignty of the Self. To protect yourself from the dark arts of influence, you must first understand that a fortress is not built of stone, it is built of boundaries. In my early days of building my first company, I thought that being accessible and agreeable was the path to success. I wanted everyone to like me. I thought that by saying yes to every request, I was building a network of allies. I was wrong. I was building a playground for predators. I remember a specific board meeting where a senior partner tried to corner me into a deal that favored his interests over the company's growth. He used a tactic called the false choice. He presented two options, both of which led to his desired outcome, and he framed them with such urgency that it felt like there was no third path. He looked me in the eye and said, "We either sign this today or we lose the entire quarter's momentum." I felt the heat rise in my chest. My heart started to race. That is the biological signal of a boundary being breached. Instead of choosing between his two bad options, I did something that terrified me at the time. I leaned back, took a slow breath, and said nothing for a full 10 seconds. In a high-stakes room, 10 seconds of silence feels like an hour. He started to fidget. He adjusted his tie. He broke first. By refusing to play the game on his timeline, I reclaimed the sovereignty of the room. Do you know what your non-negotiables are? Not your wishes or your preferences, but the hard lines in the sand that you will never, ever cross, regardless of the profit or the pressure? Most people fail because their boundaries are made of mist. They shift and fade the moment someone offers a bit of praise or threatens a bit of conflict. If you don't define your values, others will project theirs onto you. You become a mirror reflecting their desires instead of a diamond with its own internal light. This is why I tell every young person I mentor to write down their personal constitution. When you know exactly what you stand for, a manipulator's words become nothing more than background noise. They can't pull a string that isn't there. Let's talk about the concept of the gray rock. It is a psychological tool that I have used in some of the most toxic negotiations of my career. When a manipulator realizes they can't use logic to control you, they will try to use drama. They will try to spark an emotional reaction, anger, guilt, or over-explanation to get a handle on you. The gray rock method is the art of being as uninteresting and unresponsive as a pebble on the ground. You give short, factual answers. You don't defend yourself. You don't explain your why. Why? Because your why is a gift, and manipulators don't deserve gifts. They use your explanations as a map to find your vulnerabilities. If you tell them you can't do something because you are tired, they will tell you why you should be stronger. If you tell them you can't afford it, they will tell you why you should be more ambitious. But if you simply say, "That doesn't work for me," there is nowhere for them to go. There is no hook for them to grab. Have you ever noticed how the most powerful people in a room are often the ones who speak the least and explain themselves the rarest? That is because they understand that information is leverage. Every time you over-explain your decisions to someone who hasn't earned that right, you are leaking power. You are subconsciously asking for their permission. Stop asking for permission to live your own life. Your time, your money, and your energy are your private equity. You are the CEO of your existence. Would a CEO spend 3 hours explaining to a random passerby why a certain strategic shift was made? No, they make the move because it is the right move. The real transformation happens when you stop seeing manipulation as an attack and start seeing it as a test of your own internal alignment. When someone tries to guilt trip you, they are testing if you still value their opinion over your own peace. When someone tries to gaslight you, they are testing if you trust their words more than your own eyes. Every attempt at manipulation is an opportunity for you to strengthen your psychological muscles. It is like weightlifting for the soul. The heavier the pressure, the stronger the boundary becomes. Here is the moment that will change everything for you. The manipulator is actually terrified of you. They use these tactics because they know they cannot get what they want through an honest and equal exchange. They are operating from a place of scarcity and weakness. They need your compliance to feel powerful. Once you see the desperation behind the mask, the fear they try to instill in you evaporates. You realize that you're not the victim in the room. You are the prize they are failing to win. You are not a wall that needs to be defended. You are a sun that cannot be touched by the shadows. You don't have to fight them. You just have to be so grounded in your own truth that their efforts become invisible. You aren't just surviving their games. You are outgrowing them. In the next chapter, we will go even deeper and look at the most subtle form of all, the ways we manipulate ourselves and how to stop the internal sabotage before it ruins your path to the top. Chapter 4: The Mirror's Deception. We have spent a lot of time looking outward at the hooks and traps of others, but now we must turn the lens inward to the most sophisticated manipulator you will ever meet, your own ego. In my journey to financial freedom, I realized that my biggest losses didn't come from market crashes or bad employees. They came from the times I manipulated myself into believing a comfortable lie rather than an uncomfortable truth. We call this self-gaslighting. It is the art of convincing yourself that you are doing your best when you are actually just doing what is easy. Imagine a young man who says he wants to build $1 million business. He spends his days tweaking his logo, organizing his desk, and reading books on leadership. He tells his friends he is working 14-hour days. He feels productive. But if you look closer, he hasn't made a single sales call in a month. He is manipulating his own sense of progress. He is using the feeling of being busy to hide from the fear of being rejected. He is both the puppet and the puppeteer. Ask yourself right now, what is the one thing you know you should be doing, the one thing that would actually move the needle of your life that you are currently avoiding by pretending other things are more important? That lie you tell yourself is a form of internal sabotage. It is a psychological defense mechanism designed to keep you safe, but safety is the enemy of the elite. When I was starting out, I used to tell myself that I didn't have enough capital to launch my next big project. I convinced myself for a year that the timing wasn't right. I was manipulating my own ambition because I was terrified of what would happen if I tried and failed. I used logic as a mask for my insecurity. Only when I looked in the mirror and admitted that I was just being a coward did the path forward become clear. Honesty is a brutal tool, but it is the only one that can cut through the fog of self-manipulation. Another way we manipulate ourselves is through the narrative of the noble victim. This is a subtle poison. It's when you tell yourself that you aren't successful because the system is rigged, or because you didn't have the right upbringing, or because you are too honest to get ahead in a world of sharks. While there may be elements of truth in these statements, using them as a reason for your lack of results is a manipulation of your own agency. You are choosing a story that makes you feel good about losing. It is much more comfortable to be a victim than to be a failure, because a victim isn't responsible, but a victim also has no power. The moment you give up your excuses, you lose the comfort of the lie, but you gain the keys to your future. I once had a protege who blamed his slow career growth on his manager's bias. He spent all his energy documenting every slight. I told him, even if you were right, how is this story helping you grow? You are manipulating your own energy to feed your resentment instead of feeding your ambition. He quit the story, he quit the job, and within 2 years he was running his own firm. He had to stop being a victim to his own thoughts before he could become a victor in the real world. We also manipulate ourselves with the trap of someday. This is the most common form of temporal manipulation. We tell ourselves that we will be happy when we have the car, the house, or the bank balance. We put our lives on hold, convincing ourselves that the current moment doesn't count. This is a scam you are running on your own soul. You are trading the only reality you have, the present, for a future that may never arrive. High-performance individuals understand that success is not a destination you reach after a long period of suffering. It is a way of being that you practice every single day. If you can't find peace and discipline with $10 in your pocket, you will never find it with 10 million. The money just magnifies who you already are. If you are a self-manipulator when you are poor, you will be a world-class liar when you are rich. Think about your relationship with money for a moment. Do you buy things you don't need to impress people you don't like? If so, you are manipulating your own financial future to buy a temporary hit of dopamine and social validation. You are telling yourself it's an investment in your brand or your image, but deep down, you know it's a leak in your bucket. Every time you spend tomorrow's wealth to look like you have it today, you are lying to the world, and, more importantly, you are lying to yourself. The millionaire mindset is about being, not seeming. It's about the quiet confidence of knowing your value without needing to broadcast it through a logo. Total internal transparency is the ultimate competitive advantage. While everyone else is busy managing their image and lying to themselves about their flaws, you are the one who looks clearly at your weaknesses and corrects them. When you stop manipulating yourself, you become incredibly fast. You don't waste time on regret, you don't waste energy on excuses, and you don't get stuck in the cycles of trying without doing. You become a person of integrated power. Your words match your thoughts, and your actions match your words. This alignment creates a level of charisma and authority that no dark psychology trick can ever replicate. People can feel when a man or woman is no longer at war with themselves. They can feel the weight of your truth. By becoming unmanipulatable from within, you become a force of nature that cannot be stopped from without. You are no longer fighting your own shadow. You are using that shadow to cast a longer light on the world. In our final chapter, we will bring everything together to show you how to walk through a world of influence as a master of your own destiny, completely immune to the games of others and fully aligned with your highest self. We have dismantled the traps of others and uncovered the lies we tell ourselves, but now we must discuss your final evolution. You are not here just to be a fortress, you are here to be a leader. The world is starving for individuals who can influence without demeaning, who can persuade without deceiving, and who can lead without manipulating. In my years of building wealth, I found that the most profitable deals weren't the ones where I won by tricking someone, but the ones where my integrity was so undeniable that people fought to work with me. This is the shift from manipulation to inspiration. Manipulation is a short-term game played by those who don't believe they are good enough to get what they want through merit. Inspiration is the long-term strategy of those who have become so valuable that the world naturally gravitates toward them. Let's look at the boardroom again. I knew a CEO who used fear to drive his team. He would pit his top performers against each other, creating a culture of paranoia and secrecy. He felt powerful because everyone was looking to him for approval. In the short term, his numbers were high, but he was building on sand. Within 3 years, his best talent had burned out or moved to his competitors, and his company collapsed from the inside. He was a master manipulator, but a failure as a leader. Contrast this with another mentor I knew who practiced radical transparency. He told his team exactly where the company stood, even when things were bad. He didn't use guilt or pressure. He shared a vision so compelling that his employees would stay late, not because they were afraid of him, but because they didn't want to let the vision down. That is influence. It costs nothing in lies and yields everything in loyalty. As you grow in your career and your bank account, you will be tempted to use the tools we've discussed to take shortcuts. You will see how easy it is to trigger someone's insecurity to get a better price. You will see how simple it is to use a person's need for validation to make them do your work. Resist this. Every time you manipulate another human being, you are training your brain to believe that you are not capable of succeeding through your own excellence. You are effectively telling your subconscious that you are a fraud who needs tricks to survive. This kills your self-esteem, and without self-esteem, wealth is just a heavy burden. True millionaires, the ones who sleep well at night, operate from a place of surplus. They don't need to steal someone else's energy because they have an infinite supply of their own. How do you apply this today? Start by practicing clean communication. If you want something, ask for it directly. If you are unhappy with the situation, state your boundaries without the emotional theatrics. This sounds simple, but it is the most sophisticated social skill in existence. Most people are so used to the dance of passive aggression and hidden motives that when they meet someone who is direct, calm, and honest, they are mesmerized. This clarity creates a vacuum of leadership that you will naturally fill. Think of a high-end negotiation. The person who tries to use high-pressure tactics often looks desperate. The person who calmly states their value and is willing to walk away is the one who sets the price. Silence is your best friend. Honesty is your sharpest weapon, and your refusal to play games is your greatest shield. Have you ever considered that the people you admire most are those who seem the most themselves? They don't seem to be acting. They don't seem to be trying to sell you something. They just are. This is the goal of this entire book. We study manipulation so we can become better liars, but so we can recognize the lies and choose the truth. We learn how the hooks work so we can unhook ourselves and help others do the same. When you move through the world with this level of awareness, you become a beacon. People will sense your strength, and they will want to align with you. You won't have to chase money. Money will chase the value and the stability you provide. You won't have to hunt for partners. People will be drawn to the safety and the clarity of your presence. When you master your own emotions, your own triggers, and your own ego, you become the most powerful person in any environment. You cannot be blackmailed if you have no secrets. You cannot be guilt-tripped if you know your worth. You cannot be hurried if you have mastered your time. You are no longer a piece on the chessboard. You have become the player. And as a player, you have a responsibility to play a game that makes the whole world better. This is the legacy of a true mentor. This is the path of the millionaire who is rich in every sense of the word. We have reached the end of this journey through the mechanics of the human mind. You have the tools now. You know how to spot the invisible threads, how to cut them, and how to weave a life of your own design. I want to congratulate you. Most people will never have the courage to look this deeply into the mirror or the shadows of others. They will stay in the dark, wondering why they feel so tired and unfulfilled. By finishing this study, you have already separated yourself from the crowd. You are now equipped with a human armor that will serve you in every negotiation, every relationship, and every challenge you face on your way to the top. Thank you for trusting me as your guide through these chapters. It has been a privilege to share these insights with you. Remember, knowledge is only potential power. It only becomes real power when you apply it with discipline and heart. I am proud of the progress you are making. Go out there and build something incredible. Lead with integrity, live with clarity, and never let anyone else hold the pen when you are writing your story. You are ready. You are sovereign. You are free. Subscribe the Millionaire Library, and if you want to go deeper, I left a full playlist waiting for you in the description.